Well, it looks like your Uncle Dave isn't here to coddle you through your Saturday morning hangover. So you're stuck with Uncle Kev, the Maestro, Kevin Crane. Get up, get some coffee, get some grease, bacon, sausage in you. Time to face the world Saturday and Sunday. Don't worry about embarrassing yourself at the bar last night. You had a hard week of work, hopefully. You had to blow off some steam. You had to try to hit on a couple girls. It didn't quite work out. It's all okay. We will get you through here on Sports Frenzy 2.0, the weekend edition. As always, dropping every Saturday morning. In this case, June the 24th, 2023. As I previously mentioned, the Conquistador is out, celebrating his anniversary with his wife, Mrs. C. So you're going to have to deal with me and me alone. That's okay, because I have got a ton to discuss with you out there in podcast land. The sequence never changes, at least part one, segment one of the weekend edition. We start off with rock and roll. It's time for music here on Sports Frenzy 2.0, the weekend edition. An album I have been looking forward to for months, ever since it was announced. Queens of the Stone Age in Times New Roman. Now, there has been a big gap from here back to their last album. I believe it's been almost 7 years. This is supposedly some kind of concluding chapter to a trilogy of albums, including Villains and Like Clockwork. Okay. Don't ask me what the connection is, because I don't know. Other than the fact that In Times New Roman is still kick-ass rock and roll. Now, I can see how Queens of the Stone Age are an acquired taste. You're either going to love them or you're going to hate them. They are a little quirky. They are a little off the wall. They're more about texture and a sonic landscape than they are really about constructing radio hits. And that's fine. That's absolutely fine with me. Because what they do is they venture out into these rock and roll territories that most bands don't have the balls to do. And I'm calling you out, Dave Grohl, because you're best buddies with Josh Homme of Queens of the Stone Age. How about you start pushing the Foo Fighters a little bit harder after that piece of garbage album you just put out? So you can tell, I am obviously a lot more excited about In Times New Roman than I have been about most recent disappointing new releases outside of Rival Sons. Now, there are 10 tracks on In Times New Roman. We've reviewed Carnivore. We have reviewed Emotion Sickness in the past here on Sports Frenzy, the weekend edition. The rest of the album does not disappoint. In fact, I would say through the first 7 songs, it is goddamn near perfect. And you guys know I don't say that lightly. Obscenery, Paper Machete, Negative Space, Time and Place, Made to Parade, Carnivore, and What the Peephole Say. Yes, Josh Homme is always a fan of a good play on words. lets down a little bit at the end. Lets down just a little tiny bit at the end. Even though the first single, Emotion Sickness, is the 9th song, it's sandwiched between the 2 songs that are kind of mediocre, a little disappointing in Sicily and Straight Jacket Fitting. Now, Sicily reminds me a little bit of another older Queens of the Stone Age song, and that would be Suture Up Your Future from Era Vulgaris, which I guess I missed the boat on. I've never thought that was one of the best efforts from Queens of the Stone Age, but I'm reading that is the most comparable past album to In Times New Roman. I don't see it. But, what the music snobs out there, the critics, are going to tell you the right way to think about music. Whatever. I was not a fan of Era Vulgaris. I am a huge fan of In Times New Roman. So Sicily, again, sounds a little bit derivative. Feels like they're stealing riffs from the past, kind of like what the Foo Fighters did recently with their last album. When we talked about the song Rescued, when that was released as the first single off their latest album, Dave and I told you it sounds like rewarmed, rehashed, microwaved old Foo Fighters riffs, crammed and slammed together into a nice, neat package for a new song. I won't say I'll go that far in terms of talking about Sicily. Sicily's not terrible. It's just I can hear that song, Suture Up Your Future, the minute Sicily starts playing. And then Straight Jacket Fitting, I just didn't get it. This is the one song that I think is really disappointing. This kind of seems like a little bit of a hodgepodge, a mess. There's not really any kind of structure to it. With all the greatness that came before it, we really could have used a better closing track. This is an instance where I would have been happy with 9 songs. The 10th song just doesn't do it for me. Straight Jacket Fitting didn't make any kind of an impact on me at all. But that being said, In Times New Roman, Josh Homme, of course, channeling his inner David Bowie as he always seems to do. He just sounds so remarkably, uncannily, eerily like David Bowie. If you've ever heard him cover David Bowie like he did at the Taylor Hawkins tribute concerts, wow, it is spooky. But for the most part, the man, his band, never disappoints. And I am happy to say that is the same here with In Times New Roman. I heartily recommend this album. I will give it a solid 3.5 frenzies, putting it up there in contention for Album of the Year for 2023. Now, with all his lovey-dovey stuff that he's got going on, concerts, anniversaries, we'll see if your Uncle Dave remembers to actually listen to this to bring in a review next week to play catch-up. You want to know my prediction? No. I had too much going on. I couldn't listen to it. Just mark it down, kids. The Maestro's prediction, mark it down. All right, unfortunately, the only other new music we've got for this week is bad music. But there is a story behind it, a news item, and I wish it wasn't a news item, because what we have to do is we have to move past this type of announcement being a news item. I am talking about Greta Van Fleet. I am talking about the third single off their upcoming album. The third single is Farewell for Now. And again, like the first two singles, it is just not that good. I just don't know where this band is going. I canceled my order for Starcatcher. Starcatcher is the name of the new album coming out July the 21st. I canceled it after I heard Farewell for Now. Another unfocused, meandering, weird song. If you've seen publicity shots of the band lately, they are just all decked out in these weird jumpsuits, Lord of the Rings type stuff with swords, and it's just ridiculous. The music is suffering. They've completely done a 180 on their image. Now we come around to what I originally mentioned. And this has nothing to do with the judgment of the music. Obviously, Dave and I have been ripping on the new Greta Van Fleet songs since they started releasing them a couple months ago. But now, lead singer for Greta Van Fleet, Josh Kiszka, has come out of the closet. He is gay. He has been in a long-term same-sex relationship. That's fine. Again, let's get to the point where this isn't a big deal. Let's get to the point where this isn't major news. Then maybe we start to see true equality. It's got nothing to do with my opinion of the music. I have thought Greta Van Fleet's stuff over the last 3 or 4 years has sucked. And I just found out about Josh Kiszka being gay a couple days ago, so can't correlate the two. It's a shame, too, because this band had so much potential, so much promise. Look at Rob Halford of the mighty Judas Priest, who I still love and adore and admire. Rob Halford came out of the closet years and years and decades ago. Nobody cares. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm saying it in the right way. Nobody cares if Rob Halford is gay. Does the man rock? Yes. He still rocks. He's still awesome. We love Rob Halford. We don't care if he's gay, straight, whatever. But again, until we move past this and we stop making big news items, news events out of rock stars and actresses announcing they're gay, we're never going to reach the true equality that everybody supposedly wants to get to. But here for Sports Frenzy, all I'm going to say is the latest single, Farewell for Now, sucks. And again, I have canceled my order of Starcatcher. I want nothing to do with this band anymore. They have disappointed me over the last, again, 4 or 5 years. Ever since From the Fires, they have just been on a steady decline. Rival Sons kicked their ass in concert last year when I saw them both. You guys can cling to the hope that Greta Van Fleet is the future of rock and roll, while I look elsewhere, and I'm sure Dave would agree with me. So that's going to do it for our music segment. Segment 1 of the weekend edition is done. But we are not even close to being done yet, kids. Your Uncle Kev has still got movies to talk about, a review of Renfield, lots of TV and streaming. All these great shows are starting up with new seasons. We'll talk about those. It's amazing how now summer is turning into the best time of the year for new shows. Next week, when it comes to music, we will be jam-packed. We'll have a double shot of John Mellencamp. Not only will Dave and I review the new album Orpheus Descending, but we will give you, finally, a concert review as we are seeing them this weekend, today, as this hits, June the 24th, 2023, in South Bend, Indiana. We'll have a review of the album. We'll have a review of the concert. We'll play catch-up with your Uncle Dave. He will tell you how the Struts were, as he saw them in concert a few days ago. We will also review new songs from The Hives, Alice Cooper, and Deadly Vices. So you don't want to miss that, but you also don't want to miss the rest of this episode with your Uncle Kev. Quick promo break. Stay tuned. We will be right back. Hi, I'm Harrison Ford, and when I'm not listening to Sports Frenzy on Spotify, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Apple, Overcast, Castbox, Stitcher, Amazon, and Audible, I'm out promoting my latest movie, even though I'm in my 80s. Right now, I'm working on my next Indiana Jones adventure. Indiana Jones and the Adult Diaper of Danger. So grab your Metamucil, your popcorn, and head out to the movies. Hey, did I hear Short Round won an Oscar? I don't have one of those. Son of a bitch. How did that happen? No time for love, Dr. Jones, my ass. Welcome back to the weekend edition of Sports Frenzy 2.0. Flying solo this week, I'm the Maestro, Kevin Crane. Normally, the Conquistador would be doing the honors here. You're going to have to deal with me as I tell you. You always have options. You found us somewhere, but you can find us many other places out there in the landscape that is podcast land. You can find Sports Frenzy 2.0 on Spotify, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Casts, Apple, Overcast, Castbox, Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, and Stitcher! And do not forget to check out the Facebook page, another place where you can find links to each and every episode of the Weekend Edition. All right, so we've talked about music. Fairly positive segment when it comes to music. Enthusiastic recommendation from me, at least, for the new Queens of the Stone Age album, In Times New Roman. Now we move on to movies. Guess what? We're going to stay positive. Shocking, I know. Your Uncle Dave and I usually tell you how things really and truly are. We don't sugarcoat it, so a lot of the times we're bagging on stuff, albums, movies, TV shows, streaming shows, because they frankly suck. So if we recommend something, it's got to be pretty damn good. And this one was a shocker for me. An absolute shocker. Now, of course, if it wasn't for the Conquistador taking the week off, we would have been reviewing Extraction 2 this week. But we're saving that for next week. So I decided to review Renfield, streaming on Peacock. Didn't really do all that well at the box office. I thought the commercials made it look pretty stupid, subpar. This is where marketing failed Renfield. Renfield is actually a pretty damn good movie. It's entertaining. I wouldn't say it's really funny. At least it's somewhat intelligent in how it treats the audience. It doesn't treat us like dummies and idiots. It's clever to a point. Nicolas Cage playing Count Dracula is very entertaining, going through various stages of regeneration. So, of course, the makeup people went a little nutsy cuckoo here with Renfield. Of course, it won't get nominated for any kind of awards because it's not a prestige piece or a big budget Marvel superhero movie. I'm telling you, the makeup people on Renfield deserve an Academy Award. And of course, Nicolas Cage jumps right in. Doesn't get too cheesy, doesn't get too hammy with it. Of course, he's played a vampire before. One of his early roles, Vampire's Kiss. Of course, the whole premise of Renfield is Dracula's familiar, Renfield, played by Nicholas Hoult, wants to break free. He is considering the fact that he is in a toxic relationship. He's going to support groups, trying to find some way out from under Dracula's cape, shadow. And of course, Dracula will have none of that. But in the meantime, Renfield happens to stumble upon another storyline, a parallel storyline featuring Aquafina. Now, I am not a big fan of hers. The stupid, pretentious name marks points off with me right off the bat, right from the get-go. And I did not like her at all. She was not good in Shang-Chi. I still think it's Shang-Chi. I grew up reading the comic books. But she was just badly cast, ill-fitted for that movie, that role, trying to provide the comic relief. At least here she gets a little more of a chance to dial it down and not necessarily be over the top. When she does go over the top, she's actually very funny. So I was happy to see her at least cast in a role that she fit in. It's not romance. I wouldn't say the relationship between her and Nicholas Holt's Renfield is a romance, but there's a connection there, a friendship. So her character, Aquafina's character, is a cop trying to bring down a crime family. Renfield happens to cross paths with this crime family, ends up bloodily killing a bunch of the henchmen for said crime family, a bunch of the soldiers. And of course, that means that the head of the crime family and her little pathetic son want Renfield dead. And, of course, former award-winning actress Shora Agdeshlu plays the matriarch of the crime family. Whatever. Wasn't overly impressed with her. But the story has more depth than you would think. Again, you've got two parallel storylines that come together and then branch out and come together again. It's very well done. It's very gory. It is definitely an R-rated movie, so it's up to you whether you want your kids to watch. I would say anybody under 15 probably stay away. But again, it's sneaky good. I really, really liked Renfield more than I thought I would. And again, you guys know we are brutal here on Sports Frenzy when it comes to we'll lambaste anything that's not meeting up to the standards that it should, whether it's the acting, whether it's the budget, cheesy special effects, whatever it might be. Renfield was a pleasant surprise for me. And again, if you guys listen every week, you know I don't recommend all that much, especially when it comes to Hollywood. Their product is for the most part crap. I'm one of the few people right now that's applauding the strike. Keep it going. Keep it going. Because the stuff these writers have been putting out, they don't deserve more money. They don't deserve more benefits. They're hacks. Renfield, I'm giving it 3 frenzies. Solid approval. I would say if you have Peacock, number one, why don't you have Peacock? It's probably the best streaming service out there. Max sucks. Amazon, of course, is good, but you're getting free shipping with it, so that's something else entirely. Paramount Plus, not bad. Hulu stinks. Peacock is probably the best streaming service out there right now. Pay $5 a month, get Peacock, watch Renfield. Even if you cancel after a month, it's cheaper than going out to the theater what you would have paid to see it. Putting up with loud, obnoxious people on their cell phones, loudly chewing their popcorn and their snow caps. Renfield, very good. Maestro recommends. Now, we mentioned the strike, the latest, we'll say show here. I know we're talking about movies, but we like to keep you guys up to date on what shows and movies are impacted by the strike. The latest is season 2 of 1923, the Yellowstone prequel starring Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren. Season 2 has been shut down because of the writer's strike. Oh no, what will we do? Whatever will we do? There's so many people out there that watch reality TV. I don't see how this is going to impact anything. Hollywood, to me, despite the sunny, rosy optimism we're getting out of Hollywood about how great the box office is doing, how awesome movies are doing in theaters, every time I turn around, I see a bomb, a disappointment, a bomb, a disappointment. All they're betting on is that the money that Avatar, The Way of Water, and Super Mario Brothers have made is going to buoy all the other garbage that underperformed. Like this past weekend with The Flash and Elemental, Shazam 2, Fury of the Gods. It'll be interesting to see how the new Indiana Jones movie does over the 4th of July weekend. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I can tell you right now, I won't be in line to see it. I didn't like the last one. I'll wait. And I think I've told you guys the only movie right now that I really, really, really want to see in the theater I did want to see Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, but now getting closer to that window where it will hit Disney Plus, I'll just wait. But I am going to see Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Cannot wait for that. Now, other movie news. We're going to focus on superhero movies for a couple minutes. The trailer is out for Kraven the Hunter. Now, those of you out there, comic book geeks like me, know that Kraven the Hunter, of course, is one of the most famous, notable villains of Spider-Man. Aaron Taylor Johnson playing his third comic book character after Kick-Ass and Quicksilver. Trailer is very, very good, especially the end. Wait until you see who Kraven the Hunter is going to be fighting. It's implied who he's going to be fighting. I feel like I should spoil it because it's just a trailer. It's not Spider-Man. It is another Spider-Man villain who Kraven the Hunter looks like he is going to be going toe-to-toe with. And I will just tell you this. I don't know if they've gotten it right. This is a villain they have tried to put in Spider-Man movies in the past. Didn't quite work out. This looks, in the little tease you get, a little bit better. Rhino! Excuse me. Don't have big enough budget here on Sports Frenzy to have a cough button. Rhino! Again, pardon me. Staying in the Spider-Man Sony cinematic universe, El Muerto, not one I've been looking forward to. El Muerto, a character from the Spider-Man universe. The movie projected to star Bad Bunny, music icon, sometime pathetic wrestler. Ironically, El Muerto in the movie has a wrestling background, but now they're not saying this is directly related to the strike, but the strike ain't helping. El Muerto has been pulled from Sony's release schedule. I'm just worried they're going to go too far with bleeding the Spider-Man universe dry. Because what, Madam Web is coming? Who cares about Madam Web? I don't care about El Muerto. Now, Kraven the Hunter is different. Kraven the Hunter is legit. And, of course, big hit with the second animated Spider-Man movie, the Spider-Verse. And the first one, at least, was phenomenal. Haven't seen the second one yet, but it is doing very, very well. An exception to the rule I just mentioned a couple minutes ago. But again, Sony made that sweetheart deal where they didn't have to cede rights to Spider-Man back to Disney when they bought Marvel. So as long as they're keeping films in production, they're going to keep the rights to Spider-Man. So you've got Venom 3 coming at some point. I'm just surprised they're not doing more of these villain movies with the classic Spider-Man villains. Doc Ock. You could bring in Why El Muerto when you could have had the Tarantula? Shocker, we've seen him in the past. They never followed through on the tease of the Scorpion. And talk about deluding yourselves as we wrap up segment 2 here on the weekend edition. DC, oh, they're doing great as James Gunn prepares to reboot the DC cinematic universe with, of course, Superman, as he is, of course, saying he's enthusiastic about the casting calls, the auditions for his new vision of Superman, which will start off his DC cinematic universe. Of course, we've talked about The Brave and the Bold will be his relaunch of Batman. They will still keep Matt Reeves' Batman series with Robert Pattinson going as an alternate timeline, whatever. I'm just tired of all that. But we've seen, again, I just mentioned it, Shazam, Fury of the Gods, miserably fail. The Flash, big disappointment. Even Black Adam, although I thought it did okay, about 160 million at the domestic box office. DC is floundering right now, putting out all this product that they've got that ties into the old version of the DC cinematic universe. We've still got Aquaman coming at some point. But, we've also got Blue Beetle coming. I've seen the trailer for that, and that looks like complete and total crap. But the director says, we've been guaranteed Blue Beetle will be part of the new DC universe, the upcoming DC universe. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I think you're going to be very, very disappointed, and you're going to be proven to be very delusional. Because as much as I hated Zachary Levi as Shazam, as much as I don't like Ezra Miller as a human being, and I'm not a huge fan of him portraying the Flash, if those two projects are failing, how do you think a PC Blue Beetle, I don't even know if you'd call Blue Beetle a secondary DC character, how do you think that's going to play? I get it. You invested your sweat, your tears, your blood, your time, your money into this project. So you're going to do nothing but pimp it, back it, give it props. But you are just sorely, sadly mistaken if you think Blue Beetle is going to be a big hit when all these other DC dregs that are just being put out to try to get some of the budget back, Blue Beetle's going to be the one to break through. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Good luck with that. Segment 2, done. Of course, again, your Uncle Dave will be joining me next week, and we will get back to normal. Lots of movie stuff coming up, kids, in the next few weeks. We've already told you Extraction 2 will be the featured movie review for next week on Netflix. Infinity Pool is interesting. That hits Hulu this weekend. Evil Dead Rise hits Max this weekend. Last weekend, Amazon had There's Something Wrong with the Children, which looks very, very interesting. So we have got a lot on the agenda coming up over the next month or so when it comes to movies. Probably going to have to double up at some point because these are all interesting projects on all the different streaming services. We will keep you informed. We will get you caught up. We will tell you which ones to watch, which ones to pass on. One final segment left. That would be TV and streaming. Couple Red Foreman dumbasses for you in the entertainment world. One surprising Clint Eastwood badass from a couple weeks ago. Unfortunately, a lot of moments of silence to discuss. So, let's get into a quick promo break. And I will be right back to wrap things up here on the weekend edition. The Maestro will be right back.
Hello, I am James Cameron, prestigious film director. And since it takes me over a decade to make a movie, I've got plenty of time between takes to listen to my favorite podcast, Sports Frenzy 2.0, on Spotify, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Casts, Apple, Overcast, Castbox, Stitcher, Amazon, and Audible. Hey, wait, I'm having an epiphany. I have a new idea. Summer of 2035. Blue robots from the future on a doomed ocean liner. Oh, brilliant. Where's Arnold? Get me Schwarzenegger. What about DiCaprio? Oh, what about Edward Furlong? We know he's not doing anything.
All right, everybody. Third and final segment here, the weekend edition of Sports Frenzy 2.0. Hope you are getting better. You've downed a couple aspirin. You're feeling better from the Friday night hangover. Hope I am guiding you through, giving you optimism and hope for some good stuff you can do the rest of the weekend. Watch Renfield. Listen to Queens of the Stone Age. And as we get into TV and streaming here, lots of new shows, returning shows to watch. That would include Star Trek, Strange New Worlds Season 2, recently started here on Paramount Plus. If you are a fan of Star Trek, which I am, but I qualify it by saying some of the shows they've put out lately have been PC garbage. Star Trek Strange New Worlds is the show for you and me. We've discussed it here on Sports Frenzy in the past. Of course, this is the story of Christopher Pike captaining the Enterprise. He has Spock by his side. He has Uhura. An occasional drop-in from a young James T. Kirk. But of course, if you remember the original Star Trek, you know the tragic tale of Christopher Pike, and that plays a central part in propelling Strange New Worlds forward. Now, you're going to have to go back and watch the first season. I'm not going to explain all this to you. But the first season, definitely worth your time. First episode of season 2, The Broken Circle. Not bad. Not bad. Seems like they're kind of cheaping things up a little bit, trying to save money, save budget money by splitting the cast up. We've seen this on other shows in the past. You save money by not having the entire cast in every episode. You split it up. You have some crew members, some cast members appear in episode 1, and then you switch to the other ones doing something else in episode 2. It's a blatant attempt to save money. And that's what you get here at the beginning of season 2. The crew gets split up, going their separate ways on 2 separate missions. Here in the Broken Circle, you get Spock, along with Uhura and Nurse Chapel, as they have to basically steal the Enterprise to respond to a distress call from one of their other crew members. Now, again, you've got to watch the show. I am not going to go into all the detail about the backgrounds of the characters and all that, but I will say this. They have made an addition to the cast, which I don't like. If you guys remember old school sitcom Taxi, and you remember Carol Kane, Latka's girlfriend, Andy Kaufman's girlfriend, she is playing some weirdo, bizarre character now joining the crew of the Enterprise. And I do not know how I feel about this. Why mess with a good thing? Why break up the chemistry of what you had with the characters you had and bring in a wild card? And I do mean literally a wild card with this Carol Kane character. So I will remain optimistic that the show will continue on in a positive trajectory, but I will say that so far, while it's still good, not quite as good as season 1. Joe Pickett, based on the novels by C.J. Box. Season 2 has begun on Paramount Plus. I have watched the first 2 episodes. I don't know how they do it, but somehow, where a show like Reacher on Amazon takes one book from Lee Child, one season, which is how it should be. They did it in the past with Hap and Leonard. Phenomenal show. If you've never seen it, go out and find it. Sundance had 3 seasons, I believe, of Hap and Leonard, based on the books by Joe R. Lansdale. One book, one season. Somehow, the first season of Joe Pickett was 2 books in the series, and now season 2 is going to be 3 books in C.J. Box's Joe Pickett series. Now, I have not read the books. Your Uncle Dave has. He's probably more of an expert when it comes to discussing this than I am, but he won't watch the show because he likes to boycott things. He does not want to watch the Tom Cruise movies, the 2 movies that he starred in as Jack Reacher, because, of course, physically Tom Cruise is not Jack Reacher. I watched him, I enjoyed him, I could get beyond it, but I understand his feelings. Now, when I told him about season 1 of Joe Pickett and some of the casting changes, casting decisions they made, he was not happy. So he has not started watching Joe Pickett yet, even though he has read, I believe, all the books in the series. I'll recommend it. Very solid, very good mystery thriller series. Of course, I'm still watching Beavis and Butthead, also on Paramount Plus, like Joe Pickett, and Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Yes, I am pimping Paramount Plus this week, it seems like. I don't know if they're done yet. I thought season 2 would end with episode 10, but they did not say all episodes now streaming, so maybe they're going 12 or 13 episodes with season 2. But episode 10 featured hoarders and needle dicks. Hoarders was not top quality Beavis and Butthead. Needle dicks was much better. Overall, though, episode 10 was not the best of this newest incarnation of Beavis and Butthead, which, for the most part, has been very entertaining. Then finally, Black Mirror is back on Netflix. And if you have not watched Black Mirror, shame on you. Especially if you liked shows like The Twilight Zone, Night Gallery, those kind of anthology shows. Every episode, different story. Of course, Black Mirror, the theme of Black Mirror throughout all of its seasons is kind of technology and how technology is going to change us, is skewing our perception, is skewing our reality. A nightmare world in each and every episode in some way, shape, or form connected to technology. So, episode 1 of season 6. Now, with Black Mirror, the seasons are very, very short. I believe the new season 6 is only 5 episodes. But episode 1 is Joan is Awful, which is basically almost like a Russian doll type loop where a woman, not the greatest in the world, obviously Joan is awful, but Joan has to live her life, and that means doing some things that aren't great, firing people at work as a supervisor, expressing her displeasure with her fiance, pining for her ex. But what happens after about 10 minutes is her life all of a sudden is available on a Netflix clone, a parody called Streamberry, for all the world to see. So everybody she interacts with, everybody she's known, they get to watch her life unfold in a little bit of a time delay. So all the people, the fiance, her real quote unquote fiance, her real quote unquote ex, her coworkers, all get to hear and see her as she talks to her therapist, tells everybody what she really thinks of them. And of course, everybody is upset, everybody's mad at her. And then, of course, Salma Hayek plays Joan in this show within a show. Now, how many levels are there to this? Show within a show within a show. Very interesting concept here. You will have to check out Black Mirror. Episode 1, Joan is Awful, pretty damn good. Not the best Black Mirror has to offer. At some point, we'll get into that. But again, always entertaining, always interesting, always thought-provoking. Black Mirror is awesome on Netflix. Oh, of course, we've got Secret Invasion now starting on Disney Plus, featuring Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury. So that's another one that's throwing its hat into the ring, trying to take time from you, from me. So at some point, we will probably start talking about Secret Invasion. You and I will. The Conquistador does not have Disney Plus, so he will be left out. All right, other TV and streaming news. One of our favorite shows finally returning. Again, I told you, summertime is turning into the best time for returning shows. We know Justified's coming back in July. What We Do in the Shadows is coming back in July. We know It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, new season going on right now. Tacoma FD from the guys in Broken Lizard. Yes, Beer Fest. Super Troopers. Tacoma FD returns on True TV July the 20th. You know, Dave and I will discuss that each and every week. Another show that we both watch, he got me sucked into, is of course On Patrol Live. if you have Peacock, again, I highly recommend Peacock. You have access through Reels, an interesting agreement that Peacock and Reels made. You can watch On Patrol live every Friday and Saturday night. It's basically live PD, it's cops, but A&E is bitter. A&E is so upset and bitter because they screwed up. A&E canceled live PD because of the backlash. Remember all the riots? Oh, all the cops do is go out and kill people. We can't have a show that glorifies the exploits of the police departments across the country, so we're going to cancel live PD. Well, Reels said, screw it. If you don't want it, we'll take it. We'll rename it. We'll bring back the host. We'll bring back one of the co-hosts, and we'll do it. Well, A&E doesn't like that because A&E realizes they killed a cash cow. And so now there is a lawsuit that is going to proceed. A judge has allowed this to proceed in court as A&E wants On Patrol Live stopped, or of course, I'm sure they'll take a hefty monetary settlement. It's not right that Reels has got this show on. You canceled Live PD. You canceled it. A reactionary, stupid move to PC pressure. And now you want back in. Now you want some kind of restitution for your stupidity. Typical of the world we live in. Screw A&E is what I say. And screw Netflix, by the way. Not really. Like I said, I love Black Mirror. They've got plenty of good stuff on right now. But one of the things that is not good that Dave and I recently discussed is this Arnold Schwarzenegger show called FUBAR. It is painful to watch, but you knew people were. Dave and I tried it. Dave and I watched it. So, of course, we kind of advanced this, added into this reaction that Netflix has renewed FUBAR already for season 2. I think they're going to be gravely disappointed with the ratings for season 2 because, again, people are going to test the waters. People are going to try something that looks interesting. But if it fails miserably, they're going to be out after an episode or 2. But of course, Netflix wants the initial numbers. They look at them and they go, oh, look at all the people that tuned in for the first couple episodes. Yeah, until they realize it's a piece of crap. It's a piece of shit. I don't think FUBAR makes it past season 2. Awful, awful show. Then finally, going way, way back, you got to be my age or Dave's age to remember Wild Kingdom. Always up for a good show about animals, wildlife, lions and tigers and bears, oh my. Wild Kingdom used to be sponsored by Mutual of Omaha. That was the big thing. Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. I think Marlon Perkins was the host. And of course, Jim was his guy out in the field. Marlon Perkins would sit there, the kindly old man in the studio, and then Jim would be the guy out there dealing with wrestling with pythons and alligators and all that kind of good stuff. So NBC says they're bringing back Wild Kingdom. Now, is this a reaction again to the strike? Because Wild Kingdom, I'm sure, is considered reality TV. Probably exempt from the Writers Guild and all their rules and regulations. So, interested to see how this new version of Wild Kingdom plays out. Of course, tugs at the heartstrings for me. This is a fond memory from childhood. All right, so let us move on to, unfortunately, a lot of moments of silence here as we get to the tail end of the third and final segment here on the weekend edition. Glenda Jackson, two-time Oscar winner, passed away here recently. Carol Higgins Clark, noted author, of course, her mother, Mary Higgins Clark, was a giant in the literary world, but Carol Higgins Clark made her mark as well. Butthole Surfers drummer Teresa Taylor passed away. Paxton Whitehead. Who, you might ask, is Paxton Whitehead? Paxton Whitehead played Rodney Dangerfield's nemesis in Back to School. Unfortunately, Paxton Whitehead has passed away here recently. And then finally, you guys know all about this story that's been fascinating the country here over the last few days. The Titan submersible, kind of a tourist trap for very rich and wealthy people. You go down in this submersible to see the wreckage of the Titanic. And of course, stories are coming out now about quality control checks, people reporting that in the past they have been worried about the quality, the sustainability of the vessel, the Titan. Well, unfortunately, we found out through hard reality that there was a problem because this submersible, with a limited amount of oxygen for the 5 men aboard it, word came out today as we tape here on June the 22nd that wreckage has been found near the Titanic that suggests the submersible imploded. All 5 members aboard are dead. And I cannot think of a worse way to die than this. It is just awful to think about. And it doesn't matter if these guys were rich beyond belief. You know, the cost of getting a seat on this thing was astronomical, but that doesn't matter. It's just an awful, miserable way to die. And so thoughts and prayers go out to the 5 men who died on the Titan submersible. And then finally, while this is not necessarily a moment of silence, we talked about Wild Kingdom coming back. Another animal wrangler near and dear to the hearts of everybody here in America, known for his appearances on late night TV. Unfortunately, has been announced that he is suffering from Alzheimer's. So thoughts and prayers go out to Jack Hanna. Now, of course, you know what we have to do here, even though it's awkward, even though in many circles it would be considered wrong. We are going to pivot, as Ross Geller said on Friends years and years ago. We are going to pivot from sadness to stupidity. Only got a couple dumbasses here in the world of entertainment and pop culture. Of course, I promised you, though, we're going to end on a high note. After we get through these 2 dumbasses, we have a badass, the Clint Eastwood badass of the week, to wrap things up. Your 2 dumbasses. Number 1, we talked about Netflix renewing FUBAR, which is pretty dumb, but I don't know if it qualifies for a move that warrants a Red Foreman Dumbass of the Week award, but I'll tell you the one that does. Max has renewed Velma. That awful, atrocious, animated piece of crap, piece of shit from Mindy Kaling, one of the most overrated, overrated hack, quote unquote, talents in Hollywood. Only gets opportunity because of her gender and the fact she is an ethnic minority. And I'm sorry to say it, but it's true. She has no talent. No talent. I don't care how many books she's written, how many TV shows she's been in or produced. They're all crap. She is worthless. And again, she's an example of what is wrong with our culture today, where we have to check boxes and fill quotas instead of actually letting really true, funny, talented, charismatic, interesting people entertain us. Velma, after it debuted, season 1 debuted on then HBO Max, was widely reviled. On IMDb, it was considered one of the worst shows ever by critics and the public alike. Ridiculously low ratings, yet somehow, wow, Max renews it. I wonder why. I wonder why. Shame on you, Max. If it wasn't for the fact that you're getting Evil Dead Rise on your streaming platform this weekend, I would be canceling your ass. And again, where's Doom Patrol? How about we finish up season 4 of Doom Patrol before we worry about renewing Velma? How about that? We always love to rip on the game shows. Seems to be something that happens a lot lately. We've talked about faux pas on Wheel of Fortune. We've talked about messes and mistakes and bad things happening on Jeopardy. Well, let's not leave out The Price is Right. A contestant named Henry celebrating on the show dislocated his shoulder while celebrating. His wife had to spin the big wheel for him because his shoulder was hanging low and pretty much useless. Way to go, Henry. Way to go. Sorry, you're a dumbass. But as I promised, to end this particular weekend edition episode, I don't know if I'm going to say positivity. I don't know if I'm going to say we're ending this on a positive note, but I love this. Fox News. You guys know how much I love all the stupid ass news channels that are out there, all the cable news channels, the network news. But somebody at Fox News, supposedly, rumor has it that it was a former Tucker Carlson producer, director, somebody in the Tucker Carlson camp. Of course, you know, he recently left Fox News. So this guy was pretty much heading out the door anyway. But during a segment on Fox News where they were showing the president, Joe Biden, this is a new term. Only recently learned this within the last year or two. Is it Chiron? Chiron? Chyron. It's basically the description underneath a picture on a TV show. Basically, if you're watching Joe Biden speaking at the United Nations, I don't think we've ever seen that, but there would be a Chiron or Chiron underneath him saying, Joe Biden speaks at United Nations. So you get it. Pretty basic concept. Well, this guy at Fox News, again, on his way out the door, as Joe Biden was speaking, basically put on there, wannabe dictator Joe Biden speaking now. And that's what he is. Joe Biden is a wannabe dictator. He's awful. He's terrible. I don't care if you're Republican. I don't care if you're Democrat, Independent. We all have to unite and realize that we have got a senile, evil, nasty, moronic human being as a president, and we need to get him out. And I'm not saying vote for Trump, vote for DeSantis, vote for Kennedy. Just God help us, vote for somebody else. Get us out of this disastrous mess that we're in. Because, yes, Joe Biden is a wannabe dictator, and I think the guy that snuck this in on national cable news is a badass. All right, Uncle Dave will be back with me next week. I hope you have a phenomenal, phenomenal weekend. I will be seeing John Mellencamp in concert, so I will be doing okay. But until next Wednesday night, when we tape our sports edition, which hits every Thursday morning, and of course we tape the next weekend edition, which will hit 7 days from now. Take care of yourself. Take care of your loved ones. Be safe. I'm the Maestro, Kevin Crane. Take care and happy trails.
Bum-ba-dee-da, bum-ba-dee-da, bum-ba-dee-da. Happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you. Keep smiling until then.
Who cares about the clouds when we're together? Just sing a song and think about sunny weather. Happy trails to you until we meet